Multi-exclusive dimensional being Kyle with another exclusive. This video is going to be about how to control your dreams, because what's very important about your dreams is that's your inner world. Feel me? That's what you created. You are a creator, and everything outside of you is your creation. So everything that's outside of you, you need to treat these things like it's supposed to work for you. You're not supposed to work for these things. The moment society told you that you were supposed to chase your dreams outside of you, that's the moment where society practiced witchcraft and sorcery on your imagination, your spirit, soul, and body, and your three powers, which is spiritual strength, creativity, and belief. Feel me? You need these three powers to basically initiate and create what you want to basically manifest or basically see yourself through or experience. Because without these three things, you really don't have no purpose. You're going to be used as a vessel. You're going to be used and be drained on a day-to-day basis. Feel me? Think about it like this. You visiting somewhere, you left all your belongings in your neighborhood. Now, you ain't got shit. So what's going to happen? You ain't going to have nothing with you. So basically now what's got to happen? You got to basically find yourself. Feel me? Because if you just stay in one position, stay in one spot, you're not moving around, which the spirit loves to move around. The spirit loves to go through experiences. The spirit loves to go through new ways of basically initiating and creating or basically experiencing things. So if you're not doing this, something's going to get very critical. Your spirit can basically put up with so much of you not basically listening or basically following through what you need to basically be doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you're not taking this into consideration, then basically you're gonna be used. Feel me? Look at it like this: if somebody useless, they can only be used. Feel me? That's how you gotta look at it too. So if the whole thing of controlling your dreams is basically controlling your inner world first, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you express yourself, your feelings, emotions, your internal waters. These things gotta be clear, and these things gotta have some form of satisfaction, because satisfaction is key. I mean, if you ain't satisfied with yourself, if you ain't satisfied or appreciate yourself, if you don't love yourself, then how the fuck you gonna be able to actually create shit? Feel me? You're gonna be creating and planting bad seeds. Because at the end of the day, if you love somebody, you wouldn't allow them to basically go through hell or turmoil. Take this into consideration also. Your thoughts are your kids too. So basically look at it like this. These are your bitches. And at the end of the day, it's the routine pattern thing. So at the end of the day, when you know how to basically utilize and control yourself, your inner world, things will get much better. Because you got to look at it like this. There's ghosts or there's other beings that was here before you. And of course, they trying to get a re-experience of them coming here so they can have another chance to basically get from point A to point B, because they fucked up in their previous life. So now they got to look for a vessel to basically take shape and form. And of course, when you got these negative demonic ass spirits too, that was in a state of being or state of awareness that you was in, take that into consideration of basically you vibrating low and thinking negative. So now what these beings can do, they can basically inherit and basically tap into your realm to the point you give birth to them, and to the point where they your child. Now they might fuck around, kill you one day, or just suicidal your ass. That's what you was creating on your mind. Remember, what you paying attention to is what you gonna get back. Just cause it may not play into your life, it can play into somebody you basically be birthed to, or somebody you close to or love. Because remember, that's the aura you're carrying. So if you're carrying a negative aura and a negative vibe like that, you're going to basically pick up the repercussions and also go through the trials and tribulations of receiving this right back. So remember that shit. Everything got a ghost. You throw a ball, that ghost is going to be right there. That ghost going to follow you back if you basically being in representation of basically thinking about something. So it's going to inherit you. Remember, so it's very important to make sure what you're doing is very important. So of course, first thing first, how to control your dreams. It's very important to make sure that you know that that's what we need. And if we don't dream, then we don't have an imagination. So basically, controlling your dreams, you got to control your imagination. No matter, it's gonna be hard for people, places, and things that's not used to this shit. That's not utilized. They're utilizing their brain for what it needs to be utilized for. If you're just basically stuck on stupid, lost and basically lost in the source, you ain't gonna be basically controlling shit. You're gonna be getting controlled or possessed by other spirits, and of course, you're gonna come up with so many frustrations and ignorance to the point you're gonna believe that this is you, or basically this is what you're going through. But the whole time behind the scenes, just because you don't see it, don't mean you ain't. Don't mean it's not in your inner world. Because basically, your spirit is your gas, your space, your location. What happens if somebody step in your box? You're gonna be like, yo, what the fuck? There's gonna be what tug of war right there too. So take this into consideration. There's other beings outside of you that's above you too, have power over you in some way, shape, or form. Especially if you don't know that shit. Especially if you're not aware of these things. For me, subconsciously and unconsciously, of course, because you can't be consciously aware of being unconscious. But of course, you can be into the realm of space and location of basically reuniting with your soul and your spirit force. So at the end of the day, you don't take care of what you need to take care of, you're gonna basically put yourself in a circumstance, situation, and a trap. You're gonna be in a hole. You're gonna be on an ongoing event, to the point you're gonna witness and realize that, yo, you've been doing this your whole life. You ain't do shit. Feel me? So now it's very important to control your dreams, because your dreams is basically going to be pushed out into reality, depending on how you vibrate. In some way, shape, or form, it's going to play the representation. So whatever's on your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you need to make sure these shits are harmonious. So whatever you're thinking about as far as negative feelings and emotions and dreams patterns, whether you know it or not, feel me? You're going to be experiencing more of this shit. And it's going to basically be low vibrational, because you're vibrating low. And if you're vibrating low, you can't control your dreams, because you're in a low vibration. Once you get higher, once you have more experience, once you have more wisdom and knowledge of basically expressing and utilizing this shit, you can have more control over what you do on a day-to-day basis, as far as in your dreams or outside of yourself. So, of course, it's important to make sure you go to sleep feeling great every night. Go to sleep smiling every night. Go to sleep, say it, and speak to yourself more. Because the thing is, if you don't speak to yourself, you don't get to know thyself. How the fuck you gonna basically, if you're trying to get somewhere, how the fuck you gonna try to go somewhere if you don't know where you came from too? You gotta make sure you're utilizing these step-by-step processes to make sure it's initiating and creating that spark that you need to basically have some kind of form of remembrance, or some kind of memory, or some kind of flashback that'll basically put you back in that phrase of understanding what you came here to do. Because the moment you get lost into society, 9 to 5, job, school, this and that shit, and for me, that's what the parents knew, basically, because that's a generational curse. Remember that shit. And then once you get lost into this shit, what you're doing is, when you was a child, you had a big ass imagination, you had big dreams. I mean, you used to dream about this person, you used to dream about this thing, but the moment you got older and got bigger and shit, that's the time you're supposed to be chilling and basically going through all your schemes and the plots of basically having abundance and basically being spiritually satisfied. The moment you give your power and energy to school, not saying ain't nothing wrong with it, but have some kind of form of imagination else. Utilize your purpose. Not saying you still got to go there, but for me, we ain't really have a choice if we was forced there. So we ain't really know better as kids, for me. But we always felt it in our heart, truly soul, that, yo, we do not fucking belong here. Feel me? But we was too young. Feel me? We was too wild up. But now when you get older and shit, your brain cells, your cells in your body within yourself, it get bigger and it grow. And we go through experiences. Depending on how we be naive to these experiences, that's going to basically uptake the more uphill battle of basically how it's going to play out into that spectrum. So, of course, it's very important to make sure you are experiencing and witnessing things for how it truly is supposed to play out. This way you can have a consideration of not allowing these things to re-pop up or recur back in your life. I mean, the whole purpose is to basically put it out there that you don't want to experience this versus I want to experience this shit. And the more you do that, the more you put mind, body, and soul and attention to that shit, the more you're going to get out of it. Remember, we in third dimension. Remember, we're in the lowest domain. Not saying we too low, but we on the surface level. We surface level low. So as far as with this, how this world is construct, but when you go up there, there's a whole nother motherfucking plane of existence. There's a whole mentality. There's a whole verse. There's a whole nother spectrum as far as what you're going to be experiencing. For me, it's going to be like the same shit down here, but it's going to be on a higher domain. It's going to be even more beings, more experiences, more circumstances, situations, bigger and better. For me, depending on what state of being you're in. Remember, it's all about the state of being, especially when you go to sleep tonight. when you go to sleep on a day-to-day basis, or when you leave this planet, as far as transformation and death, you always got to have on your mind, body, and soul, in the state of being, a state of awareness, that you're going to always remain in good vibes and good vibrations when you're going to sleep or when you're leaving this world, especially in death. You need to make sure you're smiling. You need to make sure you don't have no attachments. Make sure you utilize and detach from all unwanted energies, because remember, you're going to be experiencing that shit too. Because remember, you're leaving this vessel. So if you had it on your mind, body, and soul that, oh shit, a chaos moment, then that's all your spirit and your soul going to resonate with. Because clearly, you showing the attachment, a grievance of basically saying, yo, I'm too attached to this and I don't know how to let go. I don't know how to, like, pain, you got to resist that. Feel me? You got to resist all that shit. So that's about it. And the only way you can control your dreams is basically making sure you utilizing your inner world, as far as having some form of stability, some form of comfortability, and making sure you're in a space and location that's not going to basically jeopardize that shit. Because remember, if you're not glowing, if you're not shining within yourself, and you're not utilizing self-satisfaction, then you're not going to really get too far. Feel me? Something's going to happen. Something bad going to happen too, especially if you're not in the right state of being. So you want to make sure you remain and be in the right state of being and be in the right state of awareness. This way things can get better and more appropriate for you. So this way you'll have more power and more control over what you want to utilize and push out there on a day-to-day basis. So the key is consistency. You got to be consistent. You got to show the universe, and you got to show your higher self, which is whatever y'all want to say as God, for me, because that's who the fuck you looking at when you're in the mirror, for me. Because if you haven't gotten to that space and location, then of course you got to go within yourself. Feel me? All the answers within. You're gonna find all your answers within, no matter what. All you got to do is tap in. That's it. That's all. Looking outside of yourself. Feel me? Ain't nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, all the answers within. When you go within, whatever you're looking out externally, is the answers gonna be right in front of your face like that. You're gonna be like, wow, I didn't even notice that. That's how it is too. So it's very important to make sure you know how to control your dreams, because if you're not controlling your dreams, if you're not dreaming harmoniously, or dreaming about abundance and dreaming about creativity in life, if you're dreaming about shit that's down here, low vibrational, then that goes to show your spirit. That's where your spirit and your domain is at. It's basically lowering, it's descending. You want to ascend. You want to get higher. Feel me? That's what you want to do. You want to ascend. You don't want to be thinking about no low vibration or that shit down here. Feel me? That's why it's important to make sure you make sure your feelings and emotions is harmonious. Because if these things are harmonious, good fortune comes, good things comes, happiness comes, abundance comes. Feel me? But if you're not in a good state of being, then how the fuck you gonna get this shit? That's like looking at it like this. Somebody that's always vibrating low as fuck. They don't know how to move in one spot, feel me? They just keep fucking going to the same spot every day, thinking they're gonna basically, like, remember, you can manifest like this too, but it's about the state of awareness, the state of being you in, what kind of vibration you in, what kind of feeling and emotion you in. Remember, the feelings, like your vibration, your frequency, your vibration created the energy. Remember that shit. It had to take two to create one. Remember that shit. The feminine and the masculine. These two had to basically come together, work together to get the job done, to create another feminine or masculine. Feel me? Which is basically prior to the same thing, because the flesh, the body is basically considered the masculine. The feelings and emotions basically is dealing with the fluids, the water, your blood, the way you feel, the way your expressions. Feel me? That's basically dealing with the inner world. So basically, when these two click, that's what's controlling your body. But at the end of the day, the feminine side always gonna control shit. Remember that shit. For me, because you need a mother to birth shit. If you ain't got a mother, you ain't got a moon, you ain't got a womb to birth shit. The shit ain't gonna be birthed. Shit gonna be burnt. Shit gonna be too dry. And you don't want shit to be too dry. You want shit to be wet, harmonious, sexy, wonderful, pleasurable. You want that shit. You don't want the opposite. For me, you don't want to be too dry up under the current and shit. You want to make sure everything is basically playing out to your spectrums, and that's basically how you control your motherfucking dreams. For me, because you got to control the way you think, feel, and express yourself. Your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. For me, your imagination, your creativity, your belief, your criteria, your persona, your aura. When you do that, your shit bright, your shit lights. Feel me? If you don't do that, you're going to look dry, stiff in the fucking face. To the point, you're going to be frustrated. Now, it's up to you to control how long you stay frustrated. We always going to go through ups and downs as far as we'll be experiencing, but are we going to stay in this experience, or are we going to try to like shift out of that experience? For me, that's a motherfucking question you're going to basically deal with. And that's a circumstance situation that you got to go through in order for you to get to point A to point B. And that's how you control your motherfucking dreams. Because your dreams is important. If you ain't dreaming big, you ain't going to be manifesting anything big down here. Who the fuck say you had to go out there to work hard for something that's already inside you? You just got to push it out.